Hello, and welcome to Columbus State University. I'm Gary Bush, the Executive Director of Admissions. I'm so proud that you have chosen Columbus State University as your school. And I want to take a few minutes to discuss, give you a few tips on college success. I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we are going to get started. So I just wanted to real quickly, college is going to be new. To everybody here. To some of you, it's your first in the family to go to school. Um, and to some, you've had lots of family members in it. The one thing that I want to point out is that you're going to the next level. If you play ball for the Phillies, you might have come up through the minor league system and been an Iron Pig. Um, and when you go to that next level, the ball moves a little faster, people hit it a little harder. You just have to realize that you're going to that next level. You're going from AAA ball to the majors. That being said, I know that everybody that we admitted um, has the capabilities of being successful here, or else we would not have admitted you. The fact that we admitted you as a student means that we know that you can be successful here at Columbus State University. So rest assured, we know that you can do it. And your success starts on your first day of school. You're going to get a syllabus. It's probably going to be electronic. When I was a student, they handed it out to you the first day of class. You go to your school your first day of class, and you talk about the syllabus. So read the syllabus. Your professor is going to have office hours. Know what those are. They're going to have an email and a phone number. You go ahead and get yourself familiar with that information. Um, and the number one thing, and it took me a long time to learn this, get a calendar, right? Because this is going to be a little different than high school, where you're not going to go to the same place every single day at the same time. You could have a Monday, Wednesday class, a Tuesday, Thursday class, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. Each day is going to look a little different. So get you a calendar, use it. I use an electronic calendar now. My daughter's in college. She uses a paper calendar. Whatever's going to work for you, get you a calendar and use it. You're going to put your professor's phone number in it. You're going to put when you're going to class in it. You're going to put when assignments are due. Get you a calendar and use it. And also on the first day of class, what's really important is where you sit. It's kind of an upside down T. You want to sit in the front row, second row, or down the middle. You don't want those people that kind of like slide in late, get you a seat next to the door just in case you got to leave. Go ahead and get that front seat or a seat down the middle. And then the most important thing is that you go to class. Every single day, you've got to go to class. Unless you have a fever or you're not supposed to go to class, even if your professor doesn't take attendance, every single class period you go unless there's a valid reason not to go, like you're running a fever. You wake up, you don't think you're going to be covering anything important. It's just a review day. You're just kind of tired. You were up late last night before working on something else. None of those are good excuses. You go to class every single day. And what that helps you do is it helps you to get to know your professor. You've got to get to know your professor. Say hey to him when you get to class. Your professor is going to be the one that not only teaches the material, but helps you out if you need it. So go to class every single day and get to know your professor. Um, some things that may be different than what you're not used to is taking notes. In college, you're going to take notes. They're going to, a lot of times they'll get up and the professors will have a discussion. Um, it has been proven that handwritten notes help you retain information more than typing. That being said, if you've typed notes your whole life and that's how you do it, you do not need to change how you take notes. But if you haven't taken notes before and that's not something you're used to, I would recommend starting with handwritten notes. Um, and another tip is if the professor writes something on the whiteboard, it's important. You need to write that down in your notes. You got to remember that you're not a tape recorder. Your job isn't to write down word for word what the professor says. It's to get the knowledge of what the professor's talking about, writing down the main ideas so you know what to study a little later on and for you to retain that information because you want to be able to go back and look at your notes. You got to make sure that you date every page. And sometimes your professor is going to give you handouts or they'll give you slides, like they'll prepare the presentation beforehand and then they'll give you those slides. I found that sometimes it's really useful to take those with you and then you write notes on your slide. You just got to find a system that works for you. Now, when I was in college, this is the system that worked for me. About inch and a half, 2 inches on the left, I would draw a line down, and it looks like this. I would draw a line down the column, and then I would take notes on the big part of it. And then on the left-hand side, if there was something that I needed to remember, I would write it down there. If there's a date that I needed to know, I would write it down there. Just things that were really important, I would write on the left, or follow-up things I would put on left date. I still use this model for taking notes and meetings today. Down the left-hand side, draw that line, about an inch and a half, 2 inches, and then big ideas, I'll put on the left-hand side. Things that I have to remind myself of to come back and do later, I'll put on that left-hand side, and then my notes, I'll use that big space on the right, and then you can summarize on the bottom. Studying may be something that you're not really used to, so you also need to find a spot that's going to work for you. Your time, your location. Do you listen to music? Do you not listen to music? There's a big group that studies in the library, and the further you go up in the library, the quieter it gets. So if you like a lot of quiet, you can go up to that top floor in the library. If you like a little bit of noise and a little bit of noise in the background, that first floor is probably where you're going to want to be. You can always rewrite your notes after class. That is a way to help you to retain the information, make sure that you got it, and then you can review them before the next day. And if a professor gives you an assignment, make sure you do that assignment. But the most important thing in studying is that you cannot procrastinate. If you've got 3 weeks worth of information to understand, it is very difficult to get that information in 3 hours stuck into your brain. So do not procrastinate. When you're given something, a project, go ahead and start working on that project right away. Don't wait, because I found this out the hard way. If your professor gives you an assignment and it's due on Tuesday, and on Monday night you open that assignment up to see what you have to do, and it's to interview someone in a particular field, who are you going to get in engineering or whatever that field is to interview you at 8 o'clock Monday night for an assignment that's due on Tuesday? So do not procrastinate. That is the killer of all GPAs. You're gonna have to start taking start taking tests. These are some test taking tips. I'm sure that you've already heard about all of these, but just to run through them real quick, make sure that you're comfortable, dress comfortably, make sure that you get plenty of rest and you're not hungry, because if you stay up all night trying to cram and then you show up and you don't feel comfortable, you're hungry, you're sleepy, you are not going to do as well on that test as if you showed up a little bit early, plenty of rest. And if you didn't procrastinate, you'd have all that information. Keep a positive attitude. And again, remember, we admitted you, so we know that you can do well here. And when you start taking that test, read the instructions carefully. Read all the answers. If you're looking for a particular answer, make sure that it's there, but read all the other answers too, because you want to make sure that you do pick that right answer. And make sure that your answer fits the question. What that means is sometimes there's keywords, and you know that keyword is, when you see it, answer is always going to be this. Make sure that you read that question and then that answer fits the question that's being asked. And if you don't know, just go ahead, eliminate the wrong answers that you know absolutely are wrong, and then just take your best guess at what's right. Now, I've been doing this for a really long time in higher ed, over 25 years. And I can tell you a big thing that's going to determine whether a student is successful or not as if they're a college student. What that means is if you're a college student, you're involved in college activities, right? You're part of clubs and organizations. Um, you, you live on campus or you're part of the campus community. So if you want to, the one thing that you can do to make sure that you're successful is to join some clubs and organizations. Get involved. Be a college student, because then being a college student is important to you. I would suggest joining at least two clubs or organizations. Um, and one of them, it would be great if it was an academic related club or organizations. We have them for most of our different majors here. Then you pick one that's just going to be really fun that you want to do that's not related to academics. Speaking of academics, how much time should you spend studying and working on assignment? So the rule of thumb is for every hour you're in class, you would spend 2 hours outside of class preparing, studying, reviewing your notes, doing homework, writing papers. So to kind of to let you know what that is if you're taking 15 hours, and 15 hours is what you're going to need to take if you're planning on graduating um, in 4 years, 15 hours fall, 15 hours spring, maybe a little bit more, but not really. So that means that you would spend 30 hours outside of class for those 15 hours that you're spending in class, which means that you're working a 45-hour work week on academics. So that's kind of what you can expect to be spending outside of class for your in-class activities. That means that if you have a full-time job or if you're working 30 hours a week, pretty much all you're doing is going to school and working. So that's about 2 hours outside for every hour in is where you're going to want to be. Um, Another thing is when you start struggling, if you start struggling, you need to get help early. Reach out to the professor. I said earlier, they all have office hours. They have emails. We have a tutoring center. We have a counseling service. We have academic advisors. You don't want to wait till it's too late, because if you're being graded on 3 tests and your first 2 tests, you made a 40 on your first test and a 40 on your second test, it is mathematically impossible for you to be successful in that class. So you need to get help early. When you start to struggle, things really don't seem to click. That's when you want to go ahead and start getting help rather than when it's too late. And again, we know that you're going to be successful. We wouldn't have admitted you if you could not be successful here. Here's a couple of keys to success, kind of summing everything up that we talked about. Be early, put in the effort, right? Make effort into this and then put in a little extra effort. Have a positive attitude, have passion and energy about what you're doing and where you are. Use good body language. And what that means is you want to smile when you're talking to people. Don't cross your arms. Just positive body language is where you act like you want to be where you are. Be prepared. That you'll read your notes, read all your assignments beforehand, and listen and respond. When your professor's trying to help you with something, listen to what she's saying and respond to her. And here's the great thing about these 7 keys to success. You don't have to be rich to do any of this. It doesn't matter what your intellectual capability is for any of these or what you've been academically prepared for. All of these keys for success, they all depend on you. Right now, anybody can exercise all of these. And that's kind of what we talked about for the entire presentation. It really just boils down to this. So again, is my phone number right there. That's my cell number. Feel free to give it a call if you have any questions. That's my email address. I am so thrilled that you've decided to make Columbus State your university, and I can't wait to see you on campus this fall. Bye-bye.